The news that ground rents are going to be capped at £250 for over 5,000 flat owners, and after 40 years they're going to be abolished completely. That's the news that's come out from the government. They're going to be talking about it to all different stakeholders, and stakeholders are people who have a stake in the industry. So they're going to be talking to tenants, lessees, landlords might even have a say, which will make a change. And of course, the big people that are involved in this, the big players, are the pension scheme, the pension companies, not the pension schemes, the pension companies. Now, these are the people that invest in this long-term ground rent income. And I own a number of blocks of flats where we own the freehold. So we get the income from the ground rents, which are about £200, £250. And in 40 years' time, they will be abolished. Of course, they're already abolished for new flats. So any new flats that are created on a new lease, the lease now is 990 years, and it comes at zero ground rent already. So this doesn't affect them at all. It affects the existing flats, which might have 100 years to go, 50 years to go, 80 years to go, whatever it might be. And some of these leases said that the ground rent doubles every 10 years, every 20 years, and that's never right. And actually, the reason we're having all this Reform Act now is partly due to the big house builders who started thinking it was a good idea, especially up north, to make houses leasehold and charge a big ground rent. So that's the history, that's where it's all come from. And it's come down to the fact now that any new property, I said any new lease is zero ground rent. The houses which were leasehold have now become freehold. That's been changed by law, and rightly so. But of course, now it affects the smaller investors, smaller freehold landlords like myself and others like me. We are now affected. We've been brought into this. Is it fair? Because these investments, so you have a block of, say, 50 flats producing £250 each per year, that's a regular income, and that's what these pension companies love, and that's what's going to be stopped in 40 years. Now, Michael Gove, who was the housing minister under the Tory government, he's the one who started all this trouble in the first place, because he managed to get the Leasehold Reform Act through the House of Parliament before the last Parliament was dissolved, before Labour took over. And all this lot have done is look at this again, because Michael Gove wanted to get rid of ground rents after 20 years, and he couldn't do it because all the major landlords, the big landlords in London and elsewhere, and the pension companies said, you've got to be joking, we're going to sue you if you do this. And he had to back off from that. But the damage was done. I saw Michael Gove at the Tory conference, the last one I went to, and I said, well done, Michael, you've just thrown 2.2 million landlords under the bus. I said, you're more of a socialist than you are conservative. In fact, you're actually at the wrong conference. You should be at the Labour conference, not ours, because you're no longer a conservative. And of course, he resigned soon after that, not because of anything I said, I'm sure, but there we go. So do we think it's a good idea? It affects 5 million lessees. These are people that own a leasehold flat. Going forward, it saves £4,000 on average or something to them. Of course, people don't live in flats for 40 odd years normally. They move into a flat, they might move into a house because they have a family. They might then move back out of a house into a flat again. So people don't stay in flats 40 years. So the benefit, Starmer's trying to make out the benefit is massive. I'm not sure it's that big at all. I mean, £250 these days, I'm not being rude, but a lot of people are unkind. But let's face it, we spend more money a month on coffee and takeaways than we're saving on this ground rent situation, and it's not changing for 40 years. A lot of these ground rents were never going up over the next 20 years anyway. So again, it's a big spin from the government. The damage was done by the Conservative government bringing the Leasehold Reform Act in the first place. What do you think? Do you think, like me, it's not going to make a lot of difference, or do you think I'm being unreasonable, unkind to lessees, and it's going to make a massive difference? Let me know if I'm wrong or if I'm right. See you next time.